Only recently I reviewed the Kakuka K70, a really good road bike with a 250 watt motor and a belt drive. It's a city bike with 700C wheels. This is a completely different story that they sent out to me. It is their K26. The 26, of course, meaning the 26-inch rims that it has. So it has a front shock with around about 3.5 inches of travel, a 350 watt motor, so more powerful than the previous model I reviewed and covered. And it does have 7 gears with this, which are from Shimano. Very standard, it's entry level here, this kind of bike. And inside the frame, it has a 7.5 amp hour battery, which takes approximately 4 hours to charge and should give us around 60 to 70 kilometers is their claim for the range out of this. So the disc brakes on this are mechanical, unfortunately, not hydraulic like the previous bike. So I'll let you know all the pros and cons of my time now testing out the K26 from Kakuka. Our front shock has no brand to it. It's not a bad shock considering that it's brandless. It is adjustable, you can even lock it out, and we do get approximately 3.5 inches of travel with it, and it doesn't seem to rattle either. It is, however, a little stiff. This would be my biggest complaint of the bike, and that is its braking performance. We have 160mm mechanical disc brakes, and the pads on them I just don't really think are up to the job. They need a lot of bedding in, and I'm still not entirely happy with their braking performance. I would swap these out with hydraulic calipers, which can still use the cable but have hydraulic and different pads, and then hopefully get the kind of braking performance desired. Our rear brake is exactly the same setup there, so 160mm. We have a 350 watt rear hub motor. It runs on a 36 volt system and gives us a top speed of 32 kilometers per hour. We have a side kickstand and it doesn't rattle when I'm riding along, which is good, and it seems to hold up the bike well. It's sturdy, it hasn't fallen over yet on me. The pedals, these are made out of metal and they're okay quality, but they are a no brand pedals, so completely brandless generic pedals, and they seem to be okay so far. The frame quality, the welds and the finish of it, the matte black finish, I really do like, and they have routed the cables internally, which is a nice touch. Everything is modular as well, the plugs, so if you need to replace anything, you can simply unplug it, then plug in the new one. We have just a reflector here on the rear. The seat, quite a lot of padding to it. It is comfortable, it's nice and wide, and I haven't had any issues with it chafing on my inner thighs or anything like that. It's pretty standard. So our rims are 26 inch, that's the old standard. I really think they should have gone for 27.5 here, but that's just me. And 1.95 wide by 26, and they are Chow Yang brand tires here, with a light off-road tread pattern to them. With the front crank here, we've got a plastic chain guard. The brand of chain is a Maya chain. Normally I see KMC with these bikes, and this is our crank speed sensor right here, using individual magnets and a hall sensor to detect when you are pedaling, and it tends to work quite well. For our gears here, very entry level, we've got Shimano Tourney, which is a 7-speed setup, and you see that there is a protector here for our derailleur, which is good to have. And note that none of these wheels have quick releases on them, which would have been nice to have. The seat post, however, does have a quick release, which is a must really, so it's great for different rider heights, so you can simply adjust that quickly on the go. Included is a battery-operated front headlight, and it's bright enough. There is a reflector built into it, and this is the plate here that in the factory they remove that, and that's where they slot in the battery, which is 7.5 amp hours. On the left side here, we've got our front brake, and this is to power it on. The mode button, which you can cycle through to see the trip, odometer, and various other settings. Up and down our pedal assist levels, there are 5 in total. And we don't have lock grips, but these grips so far on me, after riding for about 20 kilometers so far, they aren't moving and twisting on me, which is good. Then on the right, we've got our throttle. So with this, you can accelerate up to 32 kilometers per hour. You don't even have to kick off or anything. It works straight away. And there's a button here to disable it. Now this simply just plugs in. So if your local law doesn't actually allow this, you can remove this completely and unplug it, and the bike will still work fine with the pedal assist levels. That's our rear brake right there, and then the gear selector. So this is to go down the gears and up the gears with a very standard entry-level Shimano 7-speed selector. The screen, I do like the fact that it is incorporated into the handlebars. It looks good. As you can see, the battery gauge right here. So each one of those bars represents 20% battery. The pedal assist levels, So that's up to 5, and you can turn it right off with 0, and it'd just be like a normal bike then, but a little bit heavier. So you can cycle through the speed, trip, and odometer. So what's it like to ride? Now my height is 182 centimeters and I got plenty of room here, as you can see, for my knees. Now you don't even need to pedal. You can just use the accelerator, and that will take me all the way up to 32 kilometers per hour, which is quite quick. Now that doesn't matter what pedal level you're in with a pedal assist. It will work just up to 32. So that's a separate thing. Now with the pedal assist levels, I normally run 3, 4, sometimes even 5. And just now I can feel it giving me that boost along, not a problem. The bike is quick because of that 350 watt motor. And up ahead I've got a very small climb, a little bit of rough terrain here that I typically test out with my trail for e-bikes. But I will be taking this properly off-road. Now the second point of criticism from me is the top speed. It is quite hard to get it over about 32 kilometers per hour because you really have to pedal your absolute guts out to get it up to about 34. It really needs a higher gear or 27.5 inch wheels, or even 29 inch would have been, I think, more suited to this. So for people that like to ride around 40 kilometers per hour, it's a lot of work if you're not going downhill, that is. And here's my climb point. So I'm going to tackle this in about the 5th gear, but I'll first not even use the gears. I'll just try the accelerator and see how far it's going to go. And I don't believe it will be able to get up all of this. It's slowing down already to about 15 kilometers, down to about 10. So steep climbs, this is 25 to 30 degrees. It won't be able to do with just the motor. You do need to pedal. Now, as I pedal this in the 5th gear, it's actually quite easy. That's not a problem at all for me. I could probably go up a gear to the 6th. And those gear changes, by the way, Shimano, typical Shimano there, that they are crisp changes. There's no grading of gears. There are no issues there. So it does climb well, a lot better than the 250 watt motor powered K70 of theirs that I've reviewed. Okay, braking test now. So from this post, full on brakes. Oh, that's not good. So even though I've done about 25 kilometers now, these are still not what I would feel bed in, and the braking performance, not really that good. It does need hydraulic brakes, so they do need to look at the pads they're using, use better ones, but even better, of course, would be hydraulic brakes with this bike. How does it handle light trails and a bit of a drop here? Oh, oh, a little rough. It's not really the bike for it. It's very entry-level kind of trails you want to be riding with this. I had to test how is it going to ride up some rough trails here. 350 watt motor, and I'm in a lower gear. Very hard going with that front shock, and this is quite rough, this part here, but with that motor, I'm certainly able to climb up this a lot better than I would without a motor. So it is difficult going. I wish there was a little bit more give in that front shock. It's quite stiff. And that, oh, is about as far as I can get up this trail. Riding down a little bit better, but again, that front shock, it's not really up to this job. Only really there for aesthetics and not anything really rough and bumpy like this. Now then, what about our range? So I'm only able to get about 40 kilometers out of this on a single charge. But do bear in mind that I weigh 81 kilos, I'm not exactly a light rider, and I've been doing plenty of rides with this and powering along, and yes, using sometimes the accelerator instead of pushing off. I've been a little bit lazy there. So if you ride more in the flat, you're a lighter rider, you should be able to get a little bit more range out of that 7.5 amp hour battery. I mean, I didn't expect a huge amount because other e-bikes that I've covered, they would be a little bit heavier, would have 10 amp hour or even 12.5 amp hour batteries, which would give you better range there. And that's when you can get around 60 kilometers, a little bit more there. So the best parts of this bike I'll cover first. The frame, the build quality is excellent. I like the finish of it. The motor, 350 watts, plenty of power to get up to areas like where I am now. I mean, I climbed up here with absolute ease. Not a problem for this motor, and the fact that it's got 7 gears, you can lower it down, and I was in the 4th or 5th gear with those climbs, wasn't a problem at all for me. So it's a nice, powerful motor. The seat is comfortable. I like the screen, the fact that it's incorporated in part of the handlebars is quite nice. And overall, even though the shock at the front doesn't have that much travel, it's a little bit stiff, it is better than nothing. And it's better than some of the other no-brand shocks that I have tested out on some of the other bikes. It doesn't clank and rattle around. It doesn't bottom out like some of the others I had. So it is quite stiff, it is adjustable, and you can lock it out. The charge time is around 4 hours for that battery too, just wanted to mention that. And the big con for me is the brakes. Like I've mentioned on their previous model I reviewed, well, their other model should I say, the K70, it's a different type of bike, exact same brand of brakes, they're not really good enough. They need hydraulic brakes, or if they're mechanical, just use good pads. The pads with these brakes, they seem terrible. They don't really bite the discs that well. You have to apply a lot of pressure, and even then, I'm not happy with the braking performance. It's adequate, yes, you can stop when you need to, but it's just not good enough. So, overall, is it worth the price tag they asked for? $1,300 US. I think it is for an entry-style bike like this, but with that price, I would like them to upgrade to, yes, hydraulic brakes, and in future models I would really like to see 27.5-inch wheels, because that would help improve, and maybe a larger crank, the top speed of this bike, which is another it's a minor con there, that if you want to ride over 35 kilometers per hour or over 32 kilometers per hour, you really have to pedal your guts out to get up to those top speeds because of the way it is geared. So thank you so much for watching my review here of the Kakuka K26. Do check out my review of their other model, which is a different style of bike. It's a city bike with 700C wheels, the K70.